Hello, everyone. It's Jerry at the Fledge. Welcome to another episode of Every Damn Day. And today on the show, we've got our new friend Paul coming at us. You said you're in
Crown
Brooklyn,
Heights,
right?
Brooklyn.
All right. So Brooklyn's in the house. Oh, I should have had my Biggie shirt on. I wore it this morning and took
A
it
couple
off.
neighborhoods down, but yeah, that's Fort Greene. I'm in Crown Heights, but
All right.
same difference.
So you're our new friend. My crowd doesn't know much about you. I'm sure they see me retweeting some of your stuff once in a while. Why don't you tell us about yourself and what you're doing on Twitter and your art and all that stuff?
Well, I'm originally from Staten Island, so I haven't gone too far. But I make art. I went to fancy art schools. I really started getting on Twitter the last presidential election, and then it just kind of built slowly. I looked at it like a new form of printmaking or something. I looked at it like an art, and I'm a self-taught Twitter artist is the way I like to describe it. And that is heavily curated for sure, because before I even start, I go through news. I'm usually up very early and I'm listening to the BBC. And then I didn't realize the power until WikiLeaks. And I got, I'm very much that we need to get Julian Assange his freedom. So I was doing WikiLeaks while I was working on the Clinton campaign. It didn't work out too well. I got into screaming matches, and then they would just have somebody attached to me in case of, I don't know, whatever they thought I may do. Get into those computers and start throwing it out. But I was really afraid of Trump. I think that has to do with me growing up in Staten Island and him coming from Queens and understanding, oh my God, these are the guys that hang out in front of the bodega waiting for the fancy one in the Cadillac, and he's the dude in the Cadillac, and it's just not going to work out well. The one thing I did learn on doing this stuff for Clinton was anytime you see me tweet about the judiciary being attacked, I learned that there. I also started doing my own personal research. They all knew what was going to happen. Chuck Schumer and Debbie Stanbaugh wrote a paper detailing it, and they're like, let's try and copy it. And then they actually tried to copy what the Republicans were doing, fundraising-wise, in accordance, in relationship with the judiciary, but it fell apart. And then they're like, oh, we can't do anything. We can't do anything. We're going to think about it hard. And so it slowly started going. And then I don't know how long you've been following me. I got involved with Sunrise. I was one of the kids down there in DC protesting, actually. And yeah. I also was very much in favor of getting women elected. I really do believe we do need more women. That doesn't mean any women. Just because you're one doesn't mean I'm going to help you. So I tried to find women that I could be like, okay, let's do this. And, one of the women I did for was during a primary, and that was in Wisconsin. Her name was Kathy Myers. I also did it here for AOC, and I did it also here for Zephyr Teach Out. So, it's just grown naturally. But how I really got started was like, hey, this shit's just a bucket list. Let's go work on a presidential campaign and see what happens. And the first day they offered me a job, and they were like, wow, you're really good at this. And I just looked at them and I'm like, I'm fucking wait a minute. I can tell you a bold shit with a smile and then just go, get the fuck out. Next. Come on. Why do you think AOC can do what she can do? Stop it. She got money behind her and she knows how to play. I'm sure she learned that being the bar person. Come on. That's also. Well, do you have any questions, or I'll just keep going?
Well, I do have a couple of questions.
Yeah.
When you're talking about curating your Twitter, when I first started doing Twitter, I I was just reposting everything, and it wasn't, it wasn't consistent, and it took me quite a long time, and I still don't think I'm good at it. Like, I'm not curating it like you. Do you think that most people try to curate it, or most people are just regurgitating and throwing stuff out? Or
I think it's a mix. I think there's definitely a mix. There are some people who are very like, their timeline is the Bible, and nothing else will appear on their timeline except for their ideas. So, and then there are people who are just like, change. And I used to be one of those people. I would just go through whole like tweet storms and just retweet the whole thing. But how people started noticing me is in between that, I would just throw in one line that people would be like, what? I would just make, and it would be really simple and short. And I was just like Andy Warhol's drawings, simple, short, and concise. Just like Andy Warhol's drawings from the 50s, simple, short, and concise. The shit that got him the money so he could make the other stuff.
Yeah.
I'm definitely a minimalist. So I was like, no, let them talk. You just need one line.
Yeah.
And those are always the best ones. The simplest is simple is always best. And that probably goes for political ideas too. But straightforward, simple solutions usually work out the best. And that goes for Twitter too. And you could see, look at the art that I'm retweeting. And simple is best. Simple and concise. And those usually always work out the best. And I did learn that with WikiLeaks, with retweeting those, because I was definitely one of those people, And the other thing I don't do is I ain't gonna go back and delete anything. I don't give a shit. I did it. What am I gonna do? Oh, it's there, and it's very important that you see the history, and you see the development of ideas, and you see the development of the structure of what I actually tried to do with Twitter. And I don't care about my voice. Actually, if you really are paying attention to what I'm doing, I'm trying to uplift other people.
Yeah.
And I do that in various ways. I bet my timeline is maybe 30% original content, and the rest of it is just I'll put the first thought out there, and then I want to hear what you're saying. I want to see what somebody in Kansas or Oregon or who. I know what everybody's saying around here.
Yeah.
I've born and raised in New York City. I know what the line is going to be.
So the reason I feel very confident in what you're saying, and not that I'm judging or anything like that, or I even have a right to, but even when you signed up to do this show for me, I felt like you were very helpful in that. And you were, so being a waiter is very tough during the pandemic. The restaurants are really restricted. Are you completely unemployed right now, or are you
completely
working?
Unemployed? Yes.
And we're not getting the relief that that was promised to us. So there's the fight about the 1,400 and the 2,000.
I don't think we're going to get the 1,400.
Not even the 1,400.
No.
Right? That's what I was thinking too. I thought it was, yeah.
Based on what I've read today, no. They're going to have to negotiate that.
Yeah.
The Republicans want to go after the 15-hour minimum wage. Biden will not let that happen. He will take it out of those checks.
Yeah.
Bookmark that one.
I'm going to put that in the notes, and we'll double check it, because I think you're spot on that. Mm-hmm. And the other thing that was supposed to happen today, which was you were supposed to get evicted, I think, right? But
that is tomorrow, and that's not me. That's the roommate, because somebody on Twitter actually set up a fund for me, and I just given that all to him, the landlord, and he cannot. It doesn't matter. He can come tomorrow. We don't care. I actually wrote on Twitter. I was like, I've been a waiter for 30 years. What do you think's in my wallet? But card after card after card after card of person in this city who's like a lawyer, an accountant. It's just, I got tons of business cards. So I started calling him. No, he can't do nothing. He knows he can't do nothing. So what he's doing right now is, so I live in an SRO. So in my space, do you know what that is?
An SRO?
Okay, so it's a single room occupancy hotel.
Okay.
It's very hard in the pandemic. I don't think most of you can handle it. Really, you know, it's very hard. I
Yeah.
don't Google single room occupancy hotels, and you
I
will
will.
understand how dangerous, how I am trapped in this space that you see, and that's it, for 10 months.
Yeah.
Because I have to pay back a fucking student loan from fucking fancy art school. But that's why everybody's so shocked. They're like, you only have how many months? I was like, I only have 10 more months left of payment. And they're like, you want to cancel all student debt? I was like, every fucking penny. Nobody should have to live like this.
Yeah.
I have a fucking hole in my fucking bathroom in the roof. The oven doesn't work. Hopefully there'll be a cockroach coming by so you can see. But I made a plan 10 years ago to make sure 10 years ago, I was so scared about everything. And I was like, oh my God, if I don't pay my student debts, I'm taking away some kid's chance to go fuck up in art school. So I was like, all right, make a 10-year plan. And part of it was living in, it's not been easy.
Yeah.
And Cop Mala's plan, 10,000. If you jump through hoop after hoop after hoop after hoop after hoop, maybe you'll get $10,000 taken off. She can suck my dick.
So
no, I'm serious, man. When I first moved in, it was primarily African American, poor black people. And then we started seeing these white boys, these white kids, young white kids coming in. And they would tell me how much they owe, and I would just be like, okay. And I would run to my room and I'd be like, oh my God. I just be like, what? And then I'd go, oh, you have your graduate degree.
Yeah.
No. And I'd be like, what? So I can't even imagine. I can't even imagine what it's like every month for people 35 and under opening up that bill. I don't want to know. I don't even want to, because it'd get me very upset, and then I'd be on Twitter literally 24 hours, or going down to DC getting arrested. I don't want to do that, but it's insane. It's insane. Yeah. So it's very hard. It's difficult living in the pandemic situation. We're very lucky. 2 roommates, Cleavon and his girlfriend Jaleesa, they just stopped paying in the beginning. But he's from Trinidad, so he went home to Trinidad to make sure his mom's okay. He was just here yesterday to collect his mail. They're doing great. And they were like, we ain't paying for it. You stop paying. Just stop it. Just like, you don't have the money. We've got to get out of here. This is our chance to get out. They got out in the summer. But I was like, I actually had coronavirus, so I was like, I can't fuck with my housing.
Yeah.
I was one of the first people, and I was positive for 70 days. So I was like, I'm fucked. I cannot fuck with this in any way. I mean, I can fuck with it a little bit. I talked to a lawyer, I can. There's definitely room for me to be like, no, I have to go to a doctor, and I'm using the money for that this month. So there's definitely room for me to play. But no, not for the kid. He's a waiter, man. What do you think? Do you think 20-year-old waiters have a bank account?
Yeah. Okay. Not much in it if they do.
Right.
So many people are trapped, like they're indentured servants almost to their student loan debt, or even credit cards are predatory and evil for a lot of people as well. Do you see that? I mean, just constantly, that people are doing a bullshit job that they don't want to do?
Well, I think it's the only reason this building exists.
Is because of the debt?
This isn't the only one around here.
Yeah.
There are tons of these places.
Yeah.
And they used to be closer to the city, but now that gentrification happening, because this isn't my first rodeo in one of these places. So the city is gentrifying, and these buildings keep moving out, and then there were people that lived here everybody's getting pushed. It's not just people from college, it's everybody. Everybody. Gentrification is right up the block now. That's the closest it's gotten so far, and I'm like, oh, thank God I get only 10 more months, Paul, because soon even this will be, if the pandemic wasn't happening, they would be either trying to take us out so they could flip the building, or they'd just be raising the prices. So yeah, it affects so much, and then it's insane. Like I said, I think I said earlier, I'm really glad I don't have a child. I'm lonely, but I'm really glad I don't have a kid, because I just.
Well, I actually would like to dig into that a little bit more. Because what do you mean by that, first of all? Like just all the responsibilities, or bringing someone into this world?
I think it's a combination. I think the financial responsibility is insane, at least here in New York City. And so that's where I have to speak from. I don't know what it's like anywhere else. This is where I was born and raised. And when I leave, I go to places like Berlin, and I live there, which is comparable in price. So, and it's comparable in a lot of things, but, whatever. And although I was in school there, when I pass a test, I get all my money back. So that doesn't happen here. I was there to learn the language. I think it's a financial thing. I was a nanny for years, so I know I can do it. It's not. I volunteered for women in Brooklyn after I was a nanny, so it's not that I'm afraid of babies. I don't like them until they're 6 months and can hold their own neck, but I could learn.
Yeah.
No, I think it's going to get a lot worse.
Yeah.
I don't see how it can get better.
I have 3 children.
I'm sorry.
So my oldest one, she passed away of a fentanyl overdose 3 years ago. And then my youngest daughter, my middle one, is graduating from college this year, but we've got her through with 0 student debt. So we're really happy. I mean, that's one of my proudest things right now.
Great job.
You. And then my son's more of a free spirit. Doesn't really like formal school. He just teaches himself stuff, YouTube and everything. Knows how to cook. Knows how to do tons of stuff. And he's just going to be whatever, do a hustle, little side hustles all the time, and whatever he wants to do. So he's got some freedoms, and he's got some pretty good financial responsibility right now. But we are lucky. We live in a pretty low cost place, Lansing, Michigan. It's usually ranked way high. It's not like rents that you would have. We can rent a house for $800.
No.
Yeah.
No.
And that's, yeah. So
one of the other reasons I can, part of the reason I am here is because I was a junkie, I went to fancy art school, and that was part of ending up in this place. And that goes to, like, God, if we had Medicare for all and if we had single payer, maybe it wouldn't have gone on until I was 43. I don't know.
yeah.
I'd like to think I would have, but I don't know with me particularly, because I didn't go into a program. I was just like, okay, you're in Germany and you're living here. You've lost everything. You've got to figure it out. And I had 24 hours to leave. So it was like, okay, let's get it together. But I don't know. I just think there's, you asked, I think earlier, or maybe when we were talking before it started, I came home from Berlin, and I was like, oh, I should go to the doctor. And I went to a clinic, and they were like, oh, you have hepatitis C, and I almost died. And I was like, okay, I know very wealthy people. Just tell me how much I need, and I will get the money. And they were like, we don't think you understand. And I was like, no, I don't think you understand. And they told me the money. I was like, oh my fucking God, I didn't understand. I literally had to get fired from my job because I had to go on unemployment. I had to lose everything I had. And I had to get into an experimental program. I was number 401. That was my number. It was. It wasn't. You didn't go to a pharmacy. It was sent to you FedEx. I keep this box, and it's the first thing I see every morning. The only reason I got into that program is because I'm a white guy who was college educated, who was like, "You want to play games with me?" One time they had to call security on me. I was like, "I know exactly what's going on here. You are not fucking with me. I want that medicine right now." Maybe I scared them. I don't know. I got the medicine. I did my research. Like I said, I've got a phone and I've got fucking Google and I know how to fucking use it and I know about DuckDuckGo too. So let's go. We're on. I literally had to find out there was only one other place in the country that was doing this. It just happened to be New York University, and I walked in strutting oh yeah, and they're like, "What you in a good mood for?" And I was like, "If you don't get me the medicine today, I'm going to call my ex, who's a professor at NYU, and I'm going to get into that program, and I'm going to give my Medicaid dollars right to them. So what are we going to do here? Am I getting it right now? Am I getting it a week from now? Or am I just going to have to walk down the block? What do you want to do?" I saw the people in that waiting room who were in the same situation as I was in. None of them had phones. I don't think they had just had a relationship with a professor at NYU for 7 years and knew exactly what to do. That's why we need Medicare for all. There are people all over the country who don't have that medicine. And you know who has stopping that? Fucking Kennedy from Massachusetts, that little shit.
So
$170,000 to keep people alive.
That's how much the treatment was?
Yeah.
And are you cured from Hep C?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So my daughter had Hep C and she never got, she died before
It took 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And I said, "Okay, take the medicine and let's give it to somebody else." And they refused that. They were like, "No, we can't do that." And I'm like, you just said it's completely gone from my body and you're making me take this stuff that is so unaffordable. And there are people all over the country who are in desperate need of it. Again, this just happened because I'm in New York and I went to fancy art school and fucked the right people.
Yeah.
So that's why I wake up at 3 a.m. and I'm like, "Yeah, you want to fuck with me on Twitter? Let's go. I'll play games all day long. I'm unemployed. I'm the gay unemployed waiter."
I always hear stories of, if you have insurance and you have a job, it's really hard to get treatment with anything around substance use, whether it's getting into recovery or Hep C or even HIV sometimes. And to have to do that, to lose everything just so you could stay alive.
Everything. That's everything.
I know.
Everything. I had to give everything. I'm alive, but I gave them my life.
Yeah. And this is the American dream, right?
I'm sorry?
Are you living the American dream?
No, it's the American nightmare.
Yeah.
And I literally, it took 2 weeks and I was begging them to give it away. There was somebody at the restaurant I worked at whose brother down in Virginia was in the same situation.
Yeah.
No. And again, I know I'm a piece of shit, middle-aged douchebag, but I also know that I've sat and I've watched you motherfuckers, and I know how to play, and I'm in no mood anymore. I'm in no mood after the last 10 years. And, we can bring up force the vote now. They should have done it.
Yeah. What's your biggest, or some of your biggest passions right now? Medicare for all, or Medicare, both? Medicare for all. I think you mentioned the Green New Deal a little earlier.
I think right now we just have to, there are 4,000 people dying a day from coronavirus. I think right now, because like I said, I've been on Twitter for maybe 7 years, and actively I've been on Twitter for probably 5 years. These people do not know how to multitask. So we just need to focus on coronavirus. They're not capable. They can't. They've got their little show trial going on. We've just got to get whatever we can for these people. I'm talking about restaurant owners. I'm talking about the people who work in restaurants. I'm talking about all the undocumented people. You have no idea what they've been through the last 10 months because they got nothing.
Right.
Nothing.
Yeah.
So, unfortunately, there's really nothing else we can do, but we have to focus on getting that package passed. For the next week, probably 2 weeks, we're going to have to focus on Democrats and hope and pressure them not to go down from 1.9 to the next deal, the one that was just released this morning. It's pretty much being that there's 10 Republicans, maybe a group of Republicans and Democrats, Romney's people and Collins' people. They released something this morning. I glanced at it. Yeah. So we're really, let's just concentrate on that. I also think there are variants running around in this country. Unfortunately, because of everything that happened with the Hep C, I became obsessed with this. And I went after it like Randy Schultz, who's an author who wrote this great book about AIDS and tracking it. By the way, Fauci's a motherfucking dick. Yeah, go back to the 80s and see what he did to the gays. He murdered us.
Yeah.
Who cares? We're gay. Right. Well, look at your fucking hair because of it. Not yours, but everybody's.
Yeah.
So, joke's on you, assholes. So, let's just focus. The variants, there are variants. We're 6 weeks behind, 6 to 8 weeks behind England. They just got destroyed by the variants. They just found them, or at least they just released the news that they found them here in New York. So now they're in New York, they're in South Carolina, they're in California.
They're in Miami.
I'm sorry?
They're in Miami.
I didn't So let's just, I really do believe there's a really simple solution. I think, thank God I lived in Germany. Did you know Angela Merkel isn't just a leader? She's a scientist too.
Yeah, she's amazing.
What she's done? She's put her country in lockdown for 4 to 6 weeks. She's doing that in tandem with a vaccination rollout. And she's also giving them some money so they should just stay there, because people in Germany, they work hard and they party hard. Trust me, I've been there. So, hey, the science is there and it's worked. Australia says, hello, we're playing tennis today. What are you guys doing? You're doing nothing. We're in a stadium with 30,000 people because we did a correct lockdown. They found one person who was positive in Perth, Australia today. They're in lockdown for the next 5 days. New Zealand says, hello, come visit us. Oh, you can't, you're from America. Vietnam says, hello, hi, how you doing? So the answer is there. It's not just there, it's staring us in the face, and they're ignoring it for Joe Biden's 131 billionaire donors. That's it. Because Democrats are okay with 4,000 people dying a day, because they could shut the shit down right now.
Yeah. I mean, it seems so obvious that that's the right thing to do. And it's so, even to convince people that aren't in the government that that's the right thing to do, I don't even understand that.
I think they're tied into one group of messaging, which is very East Coast media based. And I don't think why they liked me at the Clinton campaign? Because I can talk to anybody because I'm a waiter. I worked at the Museum of Modern Art and the Brooklyn Museum of Art too. So, I could walk into that museum. Do you know who Agnes Gund is?
Yes.
And go have lunch with Agnes. But then I could also roll around in the sewer with the people down the block. And show up on time. So I think that's what they're lacking. They have no messaging skills. And even their scientists who I tried to befriend, and I have DMs, I can prove all this shit. But I'll show them to you if you want. But even he's not, this is one of his main guys. Because I was like, oh, I lived in Berlin, and he was also helping me with Rona, because before they announced people were getting reinfected, we knew. You can go to my Twitter account again, and I posted a month ahead before they made it, and I started talking to him about that, and we tried to get my sample from the CDC and figure things out. But he was always pro lockdown. Now they're not. now there's nothing coming from him. You know, he would always like my tweets about single parent. No, no more, no more. And it isn't just one; it's a group of them. And I actually tweeted about that today. I was like, okay, so there's a group here, and I didn't name names because we all know who they are, because you've been paying attention, you know who they are. They just will not budge. And I'm like, Angela Merkel says hello, and oh, I wish we had a leader like Angela. She makes great potato soup, has a beautiful apartment on Museum Island, and believes in science. Can you believe that?
Sounds perfect.
They didn't like it.
What's something you do every damn day to kind of push? Then you got a lot of things you're pushing. I mean, I think at the end of the day, you're trying to
music, and I listen to a lot of music. Music is very important to me right now. Yes, music from all over the world. I have a routine. I listen to classical music in the morning because I don't want to wait. So it's an SRO. Literally, there's a person right here on the other side of the wall. He's okay with classical music in the morning. And like today, it's Sunday. So usually I listen to WWOZ all day. And there's also an interesting radio station in Milwaukee that I've been listening to.
Oh, yeah?
Radio Milwaukee. So I also make art. And I also, you know, take walks. And that's what I do. Like, that's all you... I'm really paranoid about getting reinfected and having to go near any medical professional. I can't afford it. You know what I mean? Like, I just can't. I can't afford it. Like, if I could afford it, sure. But I just can't. So I stay here in my space and I make things. And again, I'm also obsessed with Egypt. I want to go to Egypt before I die. So
yeah.
Yeah.
Have you been over there at all in the Middle East or anything?
The furthest I've been so far is Morocco.
Okay.
But
Okay.
so so I've befriended an Egyptologist on Twitter who actually does work at the museum that I used to work at. So I verified he's the real deal, and you know.
Yeah.
And so I mean, but first I think we just gotta get. I really believe if you guys just elected me president, I'd have you all in a lockdown and we'd be ready to go in June. But now with this mess in the White House, I don't think it's gonna happen till earliest, like mid-fall if he gets lucky. It's just a 4 to 6 week lockdown, guys. I don't know, jerk off, do something, like draw on your walls. I do that. I have all my unemployment information written on my walls and student loan on my walls. Cross it off as we get closer to the end. And vaccination rollout. Nobody in my neighborhood's been vaccinated. People aren't getting tested here.
Our mayor and city council just jumped the line and all got vaccinated before they went out of order. It's a big controversy in Lansing right now.
Yeah, nobody in this neighborhood's been vaccinated. City MD people are getting sick of seeing me because I'm paranoid and I go there every 2 weeks. They're like, oh, Jesus, Paul, you live in a cave in here. I'm like, but I go to the bodega. And they're like, come on in. Are we doing both tests or just one today? And I'm like, well, it's free. Let's do both, you know? So we think a lot of that's going on. Like, also, I already released it on Twitter. I'm going to have to do it again. Democratic governors across the country are now lowering the level of virus you need to be considered positive. They're setting us up for a disaster, guys. Enjoy. I'm staying in my cave. I got my phone and I got Twitter. I'm staying in my cave. No, and I think that's really dangerous.
Yeah.
And that's just something that's getting floated in the last 2 weeks. I don't know if it's in place. But if you look at the numbers, I'm also concentrated on the coast numbers, California and New York. Because they're both getting ready to open things up, I think we're going to see numbers dropping based on that they're now using a lower rate of viral load to consider you now being positive. So what that does is like, yeah, you have a little bit, and maybe you'll get It's just recipe for disaster. Again, 4 to 6 week lockdown, vaccination rollout, 600 a week to each of us. We're ready to go by June. Enjoy your summer, but they're not going that way, and I don't know. I think ultimately it's going to cost us so much more. Their mistakes are going to cost us so much more. So
we're doing good in Michigan again, and we're opening up tomorrow. The restaurants are able to open again and start serving, the restaurants and bars, and it's going to be a disaster.
I think it could be very dangerous because I believe that the insurrection will be really deadly, but it'll be deadly because it's going to be a super spreading event.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I think 6 people are dead already from that thing, but I think the real death toll is going to ultimately come from
all the people that caught it.
Yeah. I mean, if what's her name, Representative Jayapal got it from like lying on the floor for a couple minutes, and she ultimately did put her mask on. She was just getting the big plastic thing out, and that's where they caught that picture, is what I believe to be the truth of that situation. But if she caught it, and another representative, I don't know if it's a Democrat, I don't know if he's Congress or Senate, got both vaccines, and he just tested positive. That story's out today. This is why I bring it back to AIDS. We still don't really know all that much about AIDS. This is just a year old, and so that's why I'm really pushing the 4 to 6 week lockdown. I was a dick when I was a kid because I hated being gay. I hated it, and I would just be like, but I'm in New York, so it's very complicated, and I'm, whatever, and I'm hanging out where I'm hanging out, and I would just be like, just pull your zipper up or go jerk off. Like, let's just get this shit under control. Even my Twitter in March, because I lived in Berlin, and I had friends calling me from all over Europe in January going, Paul, you're going to get this. You're just dead man walking, based on where I worked, because I was surrounded by people coming from Europe. It was also the Armory show, so there were artists all over the world coming into where I work. Literally, I work right by the Whitney Museum of Art. I would scream at the staff. I'd be like, you just stay away from me if you've been up at that show. And they would all, I'm friendly with them. They'd be like, we know. I'm like, I just need you to stay back, man. Just stay back. And they swore to me, they're like, we haven't gone yet. I'm like, that's not true. You don't go when we go. You go before. And they were like, no, I'm going on Friday. But all of us, people. So I remember the day I just turned to the 2 young kids I was working with, and I said, oh my God, I'm going to get this. And they just looked at me, and I actually think I said at that point, and this is late January, I was like, start stealing the toilet paper. And they were like, what? And I'm like, I don't know. I'm getting emails from Italy, and this is what they're telling me to do. And actually, you know what else they told me to do? An emergency room doctor would always come into the restaurant every morning, and she would beg me to quit smoking. And I'd be like, okay, sure. But people in Italy were like, Paul, the only people who are doing well are people who are smokers. Don't quit smoking right now. I don't even know if I should say that, but that's what I was told. And I suffered there's lung damage, but my damage was blood clots and neurological. I know the grandfather, I know who they're talking about. They were like, no, just smoke your cigarette. In the morning, have your coffee, smoke your cigarette. And I was like, okay.
I quit, and then I started again. So
I
quit for 4 months of it, and then just was like, fuck it, I'm going to keep smoking.
Yeah, so just things like that. And I don't know. I'm glad you have children. I just don't think I could do it. I didn't mean to say anything. I want to make sure that everybody who listens to this, kids are great. I was a nanny. I have recommendations. I'm unemployed right now, but I do not do house cleaning. And it's
scary.
I mean,
see, I used to spend a lot of time in
too much guilt. I feel too much guilt.
See, that's a good lead in for us daisy chaining the shows together. Because yesterday on the show, I had an educator and we talked about how the educational system is broken and different ways that his ideas for fixing it. And I told him about you because we always pass a question to the next show. And he wanted to know what it was like. Were you in public school or was that a private school?
No, I went to a private Catholic school on
And
Staten Island.
so what was that like being gay? And I think you just hinted to it a little bit ago. You hated it.
Yeah,
Um,
no, it was no. My parents were very, 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 very. It didn't end well. Let's just put it that way. It didn't end well, and I really want to be really careful right now because I'm not gonna. Whoever calls me self-hating gay on Twitter, I'm just gonna block you right away. So, yeah, sure. I think that has. I think. Yes, it's colored everything. It colored my response to you not wanting to have kids. I mean, I know I can go have kids. Trust me, there are women who want my sperm, but I'm just like, get the fuck out of here. There's enough crazy in the world, and we're ending it. And it also has to do with addiction. And you know, I started doing drugs because I was gay. It was easier to do drugs for me than to be gay. So I started when I was 13 in New York. And I could get in wherever I wanted, anywhere. But I would do it to the point where, you know, there was just no possibility of having sex. So it worked out perfectly. So I didn't have to deal with being gay. I don't know if that's still the case in that Catholic school or in Catholic schools in general.
Yeah. Well,
But
I think, definitely the Catholic school adds a new dimension of complexity there or of hate even. I don't
well,
even know
yeah.
what to call it, right? Because you already got the kids that are homophobic because of whatever reason. They're scared of whatever or they don't understand it. And so they want to bully. You've got an administration that doesn't know how to handle it. So it's never
But you also had
addressed.
AIDS. It
Yes.
was AIDS that... I had a violent upbringing. It was AIDS.
Oh, yeah. So especially in the...
So you're like 16 and AIDS is happening. It's a mess. It's just a mess.
Yeah. So everyone's scared of you too, right?
I'm sorry?
Everyone's scared of you in some way
Yeah.
or saying that they are or using that as an excuse.
I didn't come out of the closet till I was 24. No.
Yeah.
I hated it. I don't think you understand the level. My uncle was one of the first people to die of AIDS. My father wouldn't let him in a house. He was in Florida. The airline wouldn't let him fly back. My aunt had to go get him. No, I don't think you understand that. And I don't. This is cliche. Like this isn't like This story times it by 20,000. This isn't a unique story. There's nothing unique about anything I've said. It's happening all over the place, every day. And unless we do something, it's going to keep happening. Whether it's like to gay kids or to the homeless person or to the person without Medicare for all, or to racist environmental policies. You all better fucking wake up. This is not a unique story. There are millions of them. It's going to explode.
Tomorrow on the show, I've got an artist. What would you like to ask her? Her name
How
is...
How has art history influenced your making of art as well as your political outlook? The reason I ask that is because when I was in undergraduate art school, I studied with a pretty famous political artist. But none of my work is political. That's why I'm asking it. Like, I stay away from that stuff when I make art. When I make art, it's just about trying to make something beautiful. Nothing else. I don't want anything. So
your political view isn't affecting your art, but is your art affecting your political view?
I think my training, yeah, and my knowledge of art history, yeah. yeah, yeah. That's why I'm very excited about Twitter, because I think there are people on there. I don't know if they know it or if they don't know it, but they're doing political art. There are some mean people where I believe, like, if, say, somebody like Alexander Rodchenko was still alive and he was a Russian and he would do like a lot of political art, he would be using memes right now. Or Hannah Hawk, who does these, she's no longer with, she's another old time artist, but she's dead. She did these huge, beautiful collages. Or Romare Bearden, what would he be doing with this technology? And then there is somebody, from like not even that far back, David Hockney, who is using this technology, and he's doing some great work on Twitter. He makes these little like iPad drawings, and they're really kind of spectacular, like California nature. He's really nice and he's a good tipper. So is Bill Moyer. He felt bad for me because he knew it. He could tell I was a self-hating gay like his son. It's true, and the wife is lovely. No, I used to work uptown on 123rd, and they live in divinity housing from Columbia because he teaches there, and they would always come there. So you see, the other waiters didn't know who that was, but I did, and I just knocked your ass down to get to that table, and that's how I make these connections. Like, I'm a waiter in New York, and I know who's who, and I know how to play it, and I did, and I will, but now I'm playing it to get policies that we need. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So as we start to wrap up here, I really love what you're saying. I know that I didn't ask you a lot of questions. I just loved listening to what you wanted to say about that. What would you like to take us out with? And that could be, some advice, or how do we go fight better? How do we, we can't let Biden just cruise in and now the Democrats are in and everything's solved because Trump's gone. There's still a lot of problems. We got to keep pushing this party.
Trump is not gone.
Well, that's a good point.
Trump isn't gone.
That's a very good point.
He just moved to Florida.
Yeah.
So they're not gone.
There's still that half of the nation.
Well, 75 million, and who knows how many more who just were like, fuck it, I'm not voting. They're not gone. They didn't go anywhere. I think we're going to see what we have to do with how they handle the coronavirus package. If they acquiesce and they give in to Republican demands, we know we're on our own. And we need to fight like they did. Like, let's have us sit in AOC's office. She did it. I was there. She did it for Green New Deal. Let's do it for Medicare for all. Let's do it in every single office that co-signed. All those people that sponsored. Well, let's go there and make them force the vote. But now, because of the pandemic in January 6th, I don't know that we're ever going to get back into those buildings.
Right.
I mean, I got busted there once for having a Pop-Tart in my bag. I don't know how those people did what they did. Like, literally, I got in trouble for having Pop-Tarts going into the Capitol. Seriously, I had weed, but they didn't care. It was the Pop-Tarts. And when I was upstairs, they found a lighter, and I was like, oh, fuck. Are you kidding me? Like, I don't know how I got through, but they seemed to get my Pop-Tart and lighter, but they let me, so I don't know that we're ever going to be able to do that again. So I don't know if it's going to have to be if anything like that could happen again in DC, or is it going to have to be all these local offices? So I think we have to take what they've used in the past that's been successful and use it against them now, whether it's the Democrats or the Republicans. We need a Mitch McConnell. Like, we need somebody like who knows how to play the game. I would love to intern in his office, by the way. How about that? I think he's a maniac. He's a beast, and he gets what he wants. In 2015, he made a speech, and he was like, the only thing I want from Trump are judges. And he got 234 of them. He was like, you think he cares about Georgia? He's like, I'll sit back and wait 2 years, and then I'll go get my judges again. These fools can fight about the filibuster for the next 6 months. I don't care. I'll just tweet some. I'm going to tweet now. That's what he's doing. He's tweeting a lot now that he's minority leader. So, I mean, everybody knew what they were doing. It was how I would try and close the deal for, like, to get you not to vote for Trump. I was like, he's going to get control of the courts. It's a perfect storm. And they'd be like, I don't care. Okay. know, nothing I can do. I tried, you know. So here we go. And at that point, I was working at this restaurant, and there were people from like paper, and they would hang out there, and they were like, "Don't worry, he ain't gonna win. Don't worry." I had to tell these people who Diamond and Silk were. They were like, "What? They're not real." And I'm like, "Yeah, they are." And they're like, "No, they're not. They're just like Twitter bots." And I'm like, "They're on stage right now introducing Trump in Michigan 2 days before the election. They're not Twitter bots, you idiots." And that's when I knew. I knew a week before she wasn't going to win. And they were like, "Oh, are you coming to Jackson?" I was like, "I'll be staying home that night, thank you." I just couldn't believe everybody. Like, "I got my nasty woman T-shirt. She's going to win." And I'm like, "Oh, I don't think so." And they're like, "Why?" And I was like, "Well, they would send me to Pennsylvania, and I'd be surrounded by so many people who are saying you're really nice, and we can't believe you're even doing this because you just don't look like somebody who would support that woman. But we ain't voting for her. Would you like some coffee?" And I'd be like, "All right, let's have some coffee." So what was I? They just weren't going to. They hated her. Hated her. Like no, nothing. Like hated her. Imagine me and a 70-year-old woman trying to convince you to vote for her. Like, come on, man. Hey man, come on. You know, come on. They knew what they were doing by sending me out there. Please. Everything. How do I say this correctly without getting everything staged? Every single thing. That would be staged. Everything is staged. I can show you a picture. Everything in that you saw, everything. From the signs, people, everything. From where people were placed in the audience, everything was pre-planned a year before. The Kane nomination, I called that like 6 months. They were like, "How'd you know?" I'm like, "I don't know." They were just talking about it in the office. You know, I don't know. Just what I heard. So I think direct action and mutual aid is probably the best bet for everybody to survive the next 6 months. And then we have to regroup and see where everybody is. I'm not sure there is a movement.
Direct action and mutual aid, though. That's where it is at.
Yeah.
I like that. So, all right. Well, I think we'll wrap it up. And I really appreciate you coming on the show. It's nice to meet you. I think you're our first guest from New York City. I've had someone from up in Cornell, but right, Cornell?
It's a beautiful place, Cornell.
Yeah.
Lots of students, they jump off a bridge and kill themselves there, but there's a great vegetarian restaurant. Yeah, it's a crazy little town.
Yeah. So everyone, tomorrow on the show, we've got Danielle Smith coming to talk about her art, and watch Every Damn Day at 2 p.m. Every damn day. I've got 224 more shows to go. So I hit my 1 year.
Thank you very much. This was great.
Thank you. I had a lot of fun, and I learned a lot. So everyone, I will see you later. See you, Paul.
Bye. Have a great day.
You too.